What we're going to be doing is, as I mentioned, is taking one of the 3D families that you made last semester and adding dimensional parameters to that. So we can make it taller, wider, skinnier, whatever, just the way that we do for, what we practice doing in class. And as I went through a model for each of you, which you can see over here, the ones I sort of chose, I thought I'd meet individually with you. But I think it's going to be really helpful for all of us to see what everybody's doing, what's going to be involved in their different projects. So what I'd like to do today, and this can be conversational, it doesn't have to be just me talking, but instead of you guys following along, I'm recording it so you can pick it up later, would be just to sit back and watch the show as I go through what's going to take to make these parametric so we can change their dimensions. I'll probably make some mistakes or have to backtrack a little bit, but I think I'll leave that instead of getting rid of it and making myself look perfect, just to emphasize that until you get great at it, it's sort of trial and error. And I think it's as useful to see ways that don't work as to ways that ultimately do work for all these. So sit back, relax, make some popcorn, whatever. You don't need to have Revit open at all for this. Just watch on whatever screen is going to be convenient, and I'll try to provide your entertainment for the afternoon. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. So I'm just going to start with ASHLEN'S record table. She designed and her dad built, or they did it together. And I got a couple of things to say about how she modeled it. I love the legs, I have to say, they're really great. One thing about this is it's not actually modeled the way that the thing is built according to looking at the photograph. And on that, both the top and the bottom extended all the way out to the edges, and the side pieces fit down inside that. So I'm just going to make that change first. And structurally, it's actually important there, because if you had a weight on here and we're just having some nails going in through here, the nails could just sort of break on through. But if this lead goes on top of that, then it's sitting on that all the way across, and it'll be a stronger thing. So I'm just going to get it in my front elevation. Oh, and here's something, and this is true for all of you. I'm not going to be able to move this thing vertically because it was built flat on the ground, and it's set to be made in plan as a rectangle, and it's set to be this height, 1'11" to here and 1 foot and 2 feet up to here. Or many of your objects that we're going to be moving around with our dimensions, we're going to have to dissociate them from the work plane that they were created on, so that we can move them up and down. I'll move up to another level. Okay. This morning, even when I was working on this, I could stretch that out to be, well, there we go. I just had to get close. Sorry. There we go. There's that. And this one, I'll drag out first. And this has nothing to do with the parametric part of the stuff. It's just that I want to looking like it was originally created. Anyway, so now we have this object looking like this, and I see I need to expand it here as well. I'll do that in both of these two in a plan, or maybe I'll go back into an elevation view from this end to get them squared away. Okay, so there's that. I try to get as many dimensions as possible done in the floor plan, where it's sort of easy to see, and I've got these reference planes to sort of center things on, and then go into whatever side or front elevation views I need to do. And the first thing I want to do is move the whole thing so it's centered on this center reference plane. So I'll just pick them, and let's see if I can move them, because some of them might be locked into a particular work plane. Move, go from the middle over to there. Well, it looks like some of them were and some of them weren't. I think what I'll do is get rid of these guys that didn't move and mirror this one from here about this line to get it in the same place over there. So pick that and then mirror it about the center axis. And then these two, I'm going to mirror. Let's move this whole thing down here. Move all of the, so I'm centered in all directions, and then I can pick these nice big fat legs and mirror them about this line. This is the mirror where you just pick the axis line. Sorry. Pick, mirror, mirror. Okay, let's see how that looks. Looks fine. Okay, so let's give the length and width to this. Erika, what we're doing is just, I'm going to be going quickly through one of each person's 3D models, the families that we made last semester, with an understanding of how we can make them work parametrically so we can adjust their dimensions. And I'm going to do it here, and then you guys can watch that and do it again on your own with your own object. So I'm really telling you exactly how to do your assignment. You'll notice if you do read the assignment, it's almost a three-parter. One is to remake these so that they work with parametric dimensions. The next part is to create two materials using photographs that you take, as we did in class with the bricks and all that kind of stuff. And then the third part is to demonstrate everything in one file and put it on a sheet and hand in a PDF. So it's a big assignment. It's probably the biggest one of the semester. But I wanted to make it sort of feel like one assignment rather than separate ones. By the time we're done, we'll have an object that's fully parametric dimensionally and in terms of materials, which is how all these end up working. Okay, so I'm going to create some reference planes for the length. Oops. Click it, grab it by its button, drag it down, copy from there to there. And then we'll do 2 for the width as well. RP for reference plane. Copy from there to there. So let's do the easy part first. DI for dimension. We're going to call that length. We're going to call that width. And I want to keep the piece of furniture centered on this point. So I'm going to put the equality dimensions on both sides. Click, click, and then equals. So at this point, before I start making parameter, giving them names or anything, I want to make sure that these work. And it should work that if I move this one out, this one's going to move out as well, and we'll see what happens. Okay. It did, didn't it? Yes. Okay, equal. These are sort of closer to the edges than they just got in the way of the dimensions over here. Okay, that's good. But you notice that this didn't open up, if we make this really long, we've got sort of this weird little thing in the middle. And I would really like to have these two guys get farther apart, maybe being at third points along here. So we have 3 equal bays. And I think to do that, I will, we did before with some shelves doing that. So I think what I'll do here is to say dimension from this side of that to this side of that to this side of that to this side of that. Let's make those guys all equal. And what is this exactly? Shape. Oh, that's the shelf. That's the shelf in there. So I'm going to drag it out and lock it on there, and drag this on and lock it on there. And now I should be able to drag this back in, and everything works. WT for window tile, ZA for zoom all. So now as I move this line right here, we'll see that the whole 3D object increases. And that's just what we want to have happening here. Now I'll put some names on these. Actually, what I'm going to do is give labels to some parameters that we can then see back in our project once we get there. I'll have to start a new project. I'm going to take this one and create a parameter called length. Okay. And I'm going to make all of these instance parameters, everything we work on today. Because what I like to end up with is in the project we're working on is to have a tall, skinny one, a short, fat one, and one in the middle, all right next to each other. So we can see how this actually is working with one family, but different dimensional parameters. So that'll be an instance parameter for this guy right here. I'm going to pick this one and create another instance parameter called width, or I'll call this depth. It's hard to know, but depth. Instance, okay. So now if I wanted this to come out to be an even number of feet, like 6, say, I can go over to over here where we test everything. And this is where I will see the parameters that we will be seeing in the model. And I'll make this 1'6" and apply it and watch those change. And then make this like 6 feet and apply it and see those change. So that's working just right. You'll notice that I didn't have to change anything to make the legs move around. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because they were near these guys, and when they moved. I mean, I really don't know. If I were really working on it, I might set up a new reference plane on their center lines and then assign a distance for them. But I'm happy with this the way it is. Okay, so let me start a new little project. File, new. Let's use the residential default project. So just for consistency's sake, residential default template, sorry. So there's that. And I'll go back to here and say, I need to save this. Let me do that first, the first time through. File, save as, family. And I'm going to just call this ASHLEN record table by bill. Save. And then I can load this one into the project and close it. So there's that. 3D view. Control drag to make a couple of these guys. And this one I'm going to make skinnier. And you see, because they're instance properties, all the properties of this one instance show up right here in properties. So you don't have to go to edit type. That would be if they had a type property that was the same for all of them. But these are all different. So let's make this one be 4 feet. And see, it got shorter independently of these. Let's make this one, let's leave this one at 6 feet, but make it 2 feet deep. Did that get deeper? Yeah, it's deeper. And then this one I'll make just 4 feet long and just a foot wide. Okay. So one object, one family, but all these different sizes possible. And the last thing is just to give it a height. And so if we go back to edit family, I'm going to get, when we're adding parameters, it's really important to be either in your floor plan or in a true elevation view, not just front, left, back, and right. Those actually are still 3D views that just happen to be lined up, looking straight at it. And we actually want to go to these, which is when we start seeing the reference planes that we already have for this. Oh, this is interesting. The way that ASHLEN made this is it will actually be sitting on the floor. Let's go back to our 3D view. Get in a front elevation. Yeah, you can see. So this was actually somewhat mismade. And here's where I'm saying that as we explore these in more detail to get them to work right, we probably will find that we've got some issues to resolve in terms of how they were modeled. Some of that I picked up the first time through here, other times it didn't. And I think what ASHLEN did for her renderings was then to pick one of these and to use the elevation to make it be like or 3 or whatever. 3. ASHLEN, you snuck up on me here. I didn't catch that. Only for 4. So you have to give it an elevation to move it up off the floor level, but that's really not how we want to go, how we want to work. We want things to be right on the floor. So let me control Z a couple of times. And let's go back to our front elevation here. And I want to move all of this stuff up so that the bottoms of the legs are on the floor. We'll pick that up. MV, we'll see if they'll all move. And they don't, because enough of them are still locked to their initial reference plane that they're not going to do it. So let's pick this one especially and unlock it. Pick this guy, that one looks okay. This guy, and dissociate it from its plane. Those don't matter, they'll go up and down anyhow. MV, try it again. No, they should be going. There's that. Okay, let's see if I can do this one by itself. Just pick this. Okay, I do that. Here's the one behind it. So I can window both of those two. So now we need to pick this guy and see what the deal is. Okay, extrusion start 1. So that's just basically going from 0 up to the top. That should be good now. Let's load that into the project and close it. Let's save it. Yes. Replace the previous one. Yes. Overwrite everything, and there they are up on our first floor level. Let me put a floor in there just to. I should have done that earlier. Architecture floor. Just have a frame of reference for them. Yep. Okay. Sitting on the floor, not somewhere down below it. Okay. Adjusting heights for this. Adjustable heights. Edit family. We'll get into a true front elevation. I'm not going to try to stretch these guys and make the legs longer. Revolves are a pain that way. You have to really get back in and remake them. But I do want to be able to control where this goes and to have these all come up to it. So we'll create a new reference plane, which if you remember is sort of the bone of this thing that the flesh hangs off of. And I'll do this just to lock the top of that thing into that reference plane. And then put a dimension on here. Let's just make sure it works first just by moving that. Okay, well, it moved the top of it, but now we have a big thick top, which I don't want. So I'm going to actually go ahead and dimension this as like an inch or whatever it is, and then lock that for its thickness. I'll lock it. Let's see what we get now. Okay, so that moves up. That's good. Here's the reference plane, and we know that height. We know this distance is fixed. So when we pull this up to the bottom of that and lock it, then that will travel. Okay, and then we move this up and lock it. Move this up and lock it. And now those all should go as before. Okay, that's good. Now this guy's pretty skinny. I'm going to make that an inch as well. Make it 1 inch. And I'm just going to put this right to always stay right in the middle. So that will mean that from here to the top of this will be equality dimensions, or an equality dimension. Oh, I forgot to lock that. Oops. Control Z, lock it. And now I can make those equalities and move it up. So now if I change this to be 4 feet, drag that up, and then those move. Okay, we're good. So all I have to do here is give this one dimension a label, a parametric label, and then this will move and that will move. So we'll do that, height, instance, okay. Load into project and close, save it on disk, yes. Replace what's there, yes. And since we have new parameter values, we do want to override that. And there those are, and they inherited that 4'3", but we can obviously just go back and change that now to make it 2 feet. 4 feet. So one object kind of as tall or skinny or fat or wide as you want to have. And it worked well with ASHLEN'S to go first. She's first alphabetically, but also because it's a nice simple rectangular shape, and it gave us a reason to use 3 height, width, and depth, and then a couple of equality dimensions to move around internal parts. There's something we can do this a little different, which would be, let's say instead of having this always be equal, same space, same space, same space. Let's say we wanted the middle part always to be half as long. So if this is 4 feet long, it would be 2 feet between here instead of 1.5 or whatever it is. And that brings us into something that some of you might want to get involved with, which was creating formulas inside your parameters. And don't be afraid; it's as easy as can be. Say edit family. Go to my floor plan level. Instead of saying equal, 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 let's say I want, if this is 6 feet from here to here, I want from here to here to be 3 feet, just half of that. So I'm going to say distance from there to there. And I'm going to give this a name called inner length or something like that. That will be an instance parameter as well. So what I want to do over in here where I address my parameters is to say that I want inner length, here it's assigned a value. What I actually want it to be equals length divided by 2, GTH. So whatever goes in there for length, 6 feet, I just want it to be half of that. Easy enough. And I need to keep them centered. So we'll put these equality dimensions back in. You can see how this sort of builds up. So we'll set all these here. We'll make the length be 6 feet. Apply. And we can see the inner length is 3 feet. And a lot of especially the window families and all in Revit have a lot of that stuff built into them. So you can make changes, and there are changes that are caused by those changes that you actually control. So we can either specify that as a distance, we can specify it as something related to this, like divided by 3 or divided by 4, or we could actually have a formula that says that whatever this is, make that be half of it. So that's your mission, ASHLEN. Something along those lines. You might make different decisions, but we'll see how that goes. Let me load this. Save it. Yes. And we'll watch all these guys get wider when we overwrite the existing version. Okay, it's real wider. And obviously, if you were taking this to, really developing this, you might have 2 shelves in this side and 3 shelves in this side, and they can all be done equal, equal, equal. So they start to space all relative to the height of the whole thing. I'm going to keep working in this same model. the same project. I'll just park one of these over here. Get rid of those. I know that, for the assignment for making these, I said, be sure you do some revolves, be sure you do some voyades. And I think if we go to JOLIE'S end table, which is the next one I want to do, what we see here is that she's got this guy headed extrusion, just done as a flat extrusion with curved things on the floor. That's fine. These guys, she's using voyades to trim these off, which is entirely valid way to do it, and it means that whatever you do to this one by changing this voyade extrusion will happen to the other one as well. But it's a little difficult to end up moving these guys relative to each other when we're putting the whole thing together. And voids are a problem because a lot of times when you're working parametrically, you have to move the object itself and you have to move the void to keep up with it. Just one more thing to keep track of, or two more things, or whatever. So I like to propose that these guys, instead of being, edit. These are guys just rectangles extruded, and then the fillets done with the void would be instead to model them in this direction. Let me just try something. Let me see if my thing. In this direction, high tech. Can we all see that? I can't tell what you can see and what you can't see. And build the fillets right into it so we don't have to have those. So, Joel, you can decide what you want to do, but I want to do this as a demonstration. I'm going to get into my left view here.
So that's how you would have recommended doing it from the start? I feel like at the moment, that's all I knew.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I think you'll see that being able to create something from this direction and then just fill in these corners just with the fillet tool in 2D is an easier way to do that. So let's just see how it evolved. So right now I'm in this, what is this? I'm in this view. I can create a new, let's go to create extrusion. I can use this tool right here, pick lines, just to pick edges that are already there. And I'll have to use trim to cut this down. And we'll say this starts, we'll have to figure out where this is, but it starts at somewhere called 0 and ends up at, let's say, 1 inch. Well, so it'd be 1 inch thick, front to back. And I'll say, okay. Now let's see what we ended up with there. So that was the original one that goes down. I'm going to get rid of that. And we can get rid of these now too. So there's that one object. And actually, I'll make it 1/2 inch. Okay, so there's that. Let's get into the floor plan view and make a copy of that. To make it easy to make all these things symmetrical, I'm gonna move the whole bit so it's centered on this plane. And I do this a lot. Let's see. Okay, I gotta free this one up. I have to dissociate that from its. See, it's built right on that work plane right there. It's stuck to that, so I'm going to dissociate it from that. Here's this guy. We'll dissociate it from whatever it's on. This guy will dissociate it from whatever it's on. We should be able to move them all now. And from the middle to over here. MV from the middle. MV from the middle. Select MV from the middle to there. And do the same for this. Same for this. Okay, so there they all are. And I'll lock that one to there. So they, if I move one, I move the others. I'll mirror this on that. Snap this back to there and lock it. And let's just set our length and our width. We always keep doing that. Certainly our overall length and width we want. Copy. Attach and lock. Attach and lock. Or P. Do this enough, it goes pretty quickly. Copy. There. So these should go. Okay, this is sort of the first test before I start doing equals or any of that kind of stuff. Just making sure that that moving the bones moves the flesh. So let's put up a big dimension, an equality dimension, big dimension, an equality dimension, equals. Now I would guess if this is truly a table that's going to be getting longer, these guys should also extend out farther. In the previous one, ASHLEN'S, we let our internal distance be like half of the overall distance. I think just to change it up, I'm gonna copy a reference plane in here, move this out, and then be able to vary that distance. We'll just call that offset distance. I'm just going to copy this for now, right now, 6 inches. And then mirror that around here. And then move this to there. And move this to there. And you see this came along because I don't even know that I locked those together. Did I lock them together? We'll see. So if I move this, I guess I didn't. It's a step that's easy to forget. Okay, so now I drag this out. Obviously, I'm going to have to set that thickness right there. From here to here, 1/2 inch lock. From here to here, 1/2 inch. Here to here, 1/2 inch lock. And we can pull these down. Just to keep them off the geometry. If I move this, that moves, I move this, that moves, okay. So let's create 2 dimensions. And I'm going to call this one, I'm going to give it a new label, call it leg offset. Set. We'll do, I'm doing all these by instance when I'm going around to create them. And I'm going to use the same name for this guy. So whatever value we pass it out in project will come back and affect both of these guys. So here, instead of creating a new parameter, I can just go and pick a parameter and say, make that be leg offset. So if I want to test this over here, leg offset, make it be 3 inches. And this is just the way it would appear over in Revit. And they both go together. So that's good. So we'll give this a length, which we haven't created yet. length, instance, distance, okay? Because, are these widths or depths? I guess I think of them as sort of as depths if they're like a solid thing, like a cabinet or something. And width, if it's a freestanding piece of furniture. I've never seen anybody sort of decide exactly how that works. Or if there's some so let's try it now. Let me get these a little farther out of the way. Give it a try. Let's make the length be 4 feet. And the leg offset be 5 inches. And width be 3 feet. That works. I mean, it's, now that I see this, we should be end up making these guys, distances for them be proportional to that, but I'll let that be Jolie's call if she wants to do that. So I think I'll make this whole thing a little narrower. 3 feet is wide. Let's make it 2 feet. Okay,
Realistically, I'd like the glass thickness to remain the same. But the offset, I'm not so much worried about, but I feel like there's probably a maximum because of the material.
Yeah. Which doesn't concern me at all right now. Okay. It would the furniture builder and it would you. Let's do one more thing. Let's say I want to be able to control the radiuses of these corners. I might like a tight radius. I might like a real broad radius. And I can't dimension that right here in this. I need to go back sort of one level deeper to edit this extrusion where I can put a dimension on a radial, sorry, on this. Let's see if we can control that. And I think it'll disappear. Yeah, we have to go back. We have to sort of dig down a level to edit the extrusion. And then I can give a label to this, call it a new one called radius, corner radius, top radius. It helps if these are as explicit as possible. Okay, there's that. Okay, I'm done doing that. Now let's see if I can change that over here. Top corner radius 2 inches. Try to make that be 4 inches. Well, lo and behold, that works very nicely. Doesn't always do it. Let's give that same parameter name to the other 4 corners, so that when we change one, we change them all. Edit extrusion. Dimension. Radial. 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 Now pick this guy. See if we can do them all at the same time. Top corner radius. Okay. So we change that. They'll change. Okay. So let me file save as family. Fill. Save. Put in project close. There's that, and that's good. Just see what we get here. Top corner radius. And what you see here will be the last versions of the most recent versions of those are back in the model. Let's make that be 4 inches. So, and we can do the same thing with that too if we wanted to. We could have them all, if I wanted to set that, I could go back into and edit this guy, edit extrusion, radius that corner, and give it the same name as the others, and then they would all update together. What we haven't done yet with this is give it height parameters. And, since it's glass, this does seem very appropriate that you've got to, this top piece is going to want to sway. We need to prevent it from doing anything like that. So we get this big piece here. Are these glued on, Jolie, or bolted somehow, or what's the connection?
Definitely adhered with what I do not know.
Okay,
it's a clear adhesive.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of times it's called a moisture curing urethane. Comes in a tube and squirts on, and then it absorbs moisture from the air, which actually makes the stuff happen. I work with a stained glass artist who did a lot of 3D stained glass work and used that all the time, and hung huge things up in like the lobbies of a hotel. And I'm just wondering how long does that stuff last? I mean, glues fade anyway. So in elevation, not this guy, where we see these. It's very hard to get these to go back to, if you do them at an angle, I don't know how you fix them. I just do another one. RP. And I don't actually have to drag that all the way across. Just right here is enough to indicate that there is an infinite plane going, across the whole universe. But because I like to be able to dimension things from different sides and know what I'm working on, I like to drag them out so there's plenty of meat to work with. Let's take this and drag it up. Probably just give this a thickness right now, lock it in so we don't have to worry about it. Those guys traveled okay the way they were. Did we oh, because we gave them their thicknesses in plan. Again, as much as I can do in plan, I like to. It's just it's clear in my mind. I sort of start there and then do a front elevation, and then if I have to, I do a left or right elevation. So presumably as an end table, this won't be going up or down too much, but we do want these to come with it. And I guess the question is, do we want this to be a fixed distance or a percentage of the depth? Why don't we start making it a distance that we can set? So I'll go from here down to here. And I'll give a name to this center support depth instance. Okay. So let's just see if we can flex that without another reference plane down here, but just the object itself is dimension. See, here's my reference plane. This bottom part is dimensioned off the reference plane, and now this bottom line is referenced off of that. So I don't think we need to add another reference plane at all. Oh, I know I didn't do. I didn't lock this up to there. So now I should be able to change that. Okay. Oops. Oh, sorry. Oops. Wrong. We always want default elevation. That's where the whole thing is where this plane will be relative to your actual floor. We almost always want to keep that be zero. I meant to do this one. Okay, that's working. Okay, so I can file save this one, Control S. We've already got a name for it. Replace what's on disk, yes. Close. So that. Center support, 8 inches. Leg offset, 3 inches. Length, 5. Radius, 6. Width, 2 inches. So whole different thing. And obviously we could, here's to check that, that we have all these control drag. Again, sort of, the mama bear, papa bear, and baby bear versions. We can make this be, do I have a height in here? I don't have a height dimension. Sorry. Didn't do an overall height elevation. So we got, so that one works. And the only problem you're going to find would be if we get in here and we've said that, if my leg offsets from each end are 5, let's see what happens if I try to make the length of this whole thing be, let's start with it being 15 inches. Fine. So the question will become, what happens when these guys hit? So if we got, I should be able to do it to just be a foot long. We'll have this little tiny gap between them. What if I make this 10 inches? Okay, what if I make it? what happen? Yeah, and you might, run into these guys over here. You might run into things with larger pieces of furniture. What if this goes to 8? Oh, they've come out the other side. How funny. This one, well, I didn't expect that. Let's get out of here. If you've done something that's just impossible, you get something, say, either things have gotten so short that the dimensions start to contradict each other. You've dimensioned something twice in essence. And if you've changed one, the other hasn't changed, and it flags you with like an error down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Hugely different. Joppa, let me address your dresser for a minute. I want to start talking about when a void is a reasonable thing to use and when it just becomes sort of a complication. So I'm going to go Joppa. This is a very handsome model. I mean, I have to say, I really enjoy it. And you see what happens here is we've got a solid with some slight scoops coming out of it to make the void scoops. And there's an easier way to do that I would like to suggest. Again, because I was starting to get this into an elevation view and having to make sure that the voids were long enough, the voids like also extended long enough. But I think if we look at this in a side view, left elevation, where you can see there, here's the rectangle and here are the voids. If we simply model this, it's the same thing exactly as Jolie's legs that used a long void to round off the corners. Here you have this with a long void. If we decide we're just going to draw this shape here and extrude it away from camera, if you like, then we don't have to use the voids at all. And I would do this by extrusion. Again, my lines are there already, so I'm going to pick these edges. I have to do some trimming. I'll use the cut tool here and here, and use the trim tool on these two, and the trim tool on these two. And swing up, so I'll trim that down to there. It's down to here. We can't have, it's got to be just one closed, complete boundary with no overlaps or gaps or whatever. Okay, so there's that. And now I can get rid of the void and get rid of the former rectangular solid. What I'm left with is this guy, which if I go into my front view, is right here. And then so that's just a single object. Control Z. To copy it down there, I need to dissociate it from its work plane as well. CO. Sorry. CO. And where this goes to, we'll worry about that in the fullness of time. And we can do that for the, so here's this just as a single object instead of three separate objects, which just strikes me as easier to keep track of. And the same thing could be done here for those guys. Another thing I noticed here was that this looks like a box with another box on top of it. The way it's been modeled is it's one big box with a couple of voids, rectangular voids cut out of it. What I want to do is start being able to adjust this overall length as well as this top length independently of that. And having these as extra pieces just makes more things to have to move around. So I'm going to get rid of them. And a lot of ways up here. I'm doing great damage to your thing, Joppa, but you can do what you want. But what I think I want to do here is just put another separate box on top of this. So I'll go back into my reference level. And I'm going to create.
Is there a way for me to still do what you are doing now without deleting all of the voids and things like that?
Probably. I'm showing you one way.
Okay.
And I think you'll appreciate that I only have to manipulate that one object up on top of there instead of three or four with my dimension. And that I'm trying to simplify it down as much as I can.
Okay.
Because we're not really designing furniture here. This isn't something that's going to go to a cabinet maker to make it. It's so we have a sense of what's going on and can adjust the overall sizes of it and get a sense of what that is. But we're not completely embellishing it with all the details. So bearing that in mind, I think I will go to maybe just my view one. Go to create extrusion. I'm going to pick this plane up here. I'm going to draw on this plane. Go up to the top view. Draw a rectangle. I guess it went out to the back. something along those lines. And we'll make it, from where it started, we'll make it 10 inches high. Go take a look at this from the front. Oh, that was clearly too high. Make it 5 inches high. Okay. So so now I would like to do something along the lines of if I'm doing the height parts. Click, drag the circle. Joppa, if you were measuring this, would you want to know like the overall height, like from here? Well, we have a choice of saying, do I want to have an overall height and then specify one of these and let the other one just be whatever it has to be, or do we want to see this distance and this distance together? What would you think?
I would have started with the big block at the bottom, did that, and then do the small.
Okay. So I'm going to create these as two separate dimensions just so we can give each one a different parameter, case height and top height, or bottom height and top height, something along one of those lines. So let's pick this guy and lock him up there. Pick this guy, lock him down there. I think those are all okay. Let's drag this up. Oh. Oops. Got a lot of locks going on there. That's one that's undone, so let's see about that. Let me get rid of these guys for a minute. It seems like those two are pretty well set relative to each other. Oh, I wanted a reference point here. So this is a case where you get to watch my process not being perfectly smooth. So sometimes hard to pick that little circle at the end of the reference plane. So that part's working. I haven't locked either of those to that. So let's pick this. Drag it down, drag it back to there and lock it. Pick this, drag it up, drag it down and lock it. I think that'll do us. Yeah. We'll have to set the have to set the drawers some distance off of each of those. So let's do main height and top height. So what happens if I pick this guy and make it 3 feet high? Okay, So we got some pieces that need to come along with it when we're making those associations. So let's say that this guy is always an inch below that. See if when I move this, that goes up as well. Oh, forgot to lock it. Got to be a little more precise. I need to dimension how deep this is and lock that. Having fun yet? Can't make extrusion. Delete elements. Cancel. Can't make extrusion. So I move that up like an inch just with my arrow key. The top of it is locked an inch below. That's locked 4 inches deep. I don't actually have an answer for this right now, Joppa.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick a different object, so.
I mean, what's attractive about this one is it's all nice and rectangular.
I think with all the voids and extrusions I did, it made it pretty complicated.
There's there are no voids up here causing this particular issue. Let me try moving that up. Well, something, our thing is disappearing down into here. Cancel. I'll work on this and see what I can figure out. But which other ones did you have?
I had the vase, so 2 circular items, and then I had my table, the dining table, which I don't think the dining table would be that bad because it's just the 4 legs that are, I think they're all connected with the 1 piece or the 2 pieces that are connected down at the bottom. And then just
the trick. Yeah, the trick. Oh, that's right. The angly one. The trick there. Can you see my?
yes.
Yeah. The trick there will be as you make the table higher, the legs hit it a certain distance apart.
Mhm.
Are they just going to end up like crossing or something when they get there?
Yeah. I also have a vase and a cup. Oh,
well, I tell you that.
I also have a vase and a cup. So
Yeah, those are revolves are tricky, especially if they're sort of convoluted, because you need to go in and edit the revolve and turn in the purple lines and then dimension that. You can't actually just dimension the solid. So the cup might be better.
you said
Because you can measure from the bottom of it to the top of it.
okay.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
But I'll come back to this. I'm going to not close this. Well, I haven't saved this yet, so I won't. Just going to get out of here. Okay, needs more homework. Let me address MAKENNA'S easy chair because that's going to be a lot of fillets, rounding off of solids that I've been working on. I think it'll help all of us make our furniture look better. But actually, I'd like to start with Erika's stool first. This is so I don't confuse these with the ones that you end up sending me. Okay, let's insert that into printing. Okay, handsome bunch of stuff here. Actually, it's nice having them all about the same size. Joppa's yours will be different if you're doing the cup, but it's okay. We can stick it on top. So, MAKENNA. All of these shapes will work doing just what we did, which is getting them into the elevation view and creating a fillet around the edges to round those off. And that's no problem at all. The trick was where this sloped surface comes up to meet the flat surface. Because what happens here is there's sort of a flat face here and a flat face here, and this corner piece is kind of like part of a cone. It's got a tighter radius at the top than at the bottom. It's just a weird shape, and the fillet, I can't get filleting to go around the corners at all. Just one, it won't make this transition from one to the other. So what I ended up doing, let me get into a 3D view. What I ended up doing was just putting a 3/4 inch high little piece on top of this and giving it a 3/4 inch fillet all the way around to smooth it out. Let me show you how that worked. First of all, let's get into our reference level. So here's that pillow. And I just want to make sure, I just want to get its radii all the same at the top here. So I want to edit the top. And so that's 1 1/4, that's 1 1/4, that's 1 inch, that's 1 inch, and that's 3/4. So I'm going to make all these the same, just so I know what I'm working with. Fillet radius, let's say 1.25 inches. And then close these up again. Okay. Let me see what that looks. So essentially unchanged, we just clean that up. And then I want to create let's say a 3/4 inch high little guy on top of this. So let me just get into view 1, and I'll say create extrusion. I'm going to pick these points. No, I'm sorry, I'm creating a solid. Yeah, creating a solid. That's what I'm doing. Lost track of myself here. Create a solid. Create. Let me cancel that. Start again. All right. Create an extrusion. Pick these points, pick these edges, which are being picked. They're being drawn down here on the ground incidentally, because I didn't actually make my, let me do this properly. Yes. I want to make this my work plane. Create, set my work plane to here so that we'll see them drawn up on top of here instead of down on the floor. Then I can go to extrusion, pick points, pick lines. Do a little trimming, as you can see. PR to trim this to there, this to there, this to there, this to there. Okay, and I'm going to make this, it's going to go from, this is now the new 0 height, so I'm just going to make it go up a 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to fill it off that top part, because all these are just straight down edges all the way around, and those will fill off just the way it did in the other one. Create, void, sweep, pick path. Done making the path, edit the profile. I want to get into a view where I can see that. And see how, it's just going to sort of round off this way. We will hardly ever see it. So that was 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go, I'll go, that's 0.75 inches. I'll go like 0.7 inches that way. This way, 0.7 inches. The arc, endpoint to endpoint, side. Okay. Okay. So let's see if we can join these guys. Let's see what's going on here. So there's that. And if we turn, if this is one of the views where, let's see if we can join them. Joining often gets rid of the apparent line of intersection, but it's not working for some reason. I think because of the shape of this corner. But if you don't want to see that, we can go into graphic display options and turn off show edges. And then it looks like a perfectly smooth, comfy old easy chair. So it'll be kind of interesting back here, where when these get rounded off, you'll be able to see how this back piece sort of tucks into this larger frame.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, should I do that to the arms then?
I would certainly do it to the front of the arms. I would do it to the front of the arms, and then I bet if you make one on the front of the arms, you can just mirror it back here, right about the middle of this right here, and it would just apply right to the backs.
Okay.
And maybe you want to do the bottom of that piece, something like that, just so they articulate. Your legs are wonderful, perfect mid-century modern little
Thank you.
little legs. And actually, that's nice. So this is a blend, right? Going from a big rectangle to a smaller one, and then this is a blend going from a small circle to whatever, and offset, which is really pretty nice. Nice way to do that. Now, for making this guy parametric, I haven't even thought about that. Well, let's see how this was created. This was created, okay, in a front elevation, so we should be able to. Yeah, it might be easiest to do this in the, oh, and you're also down below the reference plane as well. So let's cancel that for a second. So can everything just move up? Yeah, lucky. Let's just see what can happen here. Can I pick this and just move that into there? Yeah. But I think what I need to do is mention that and lock it. So if I pick this, yeah, you'll have to lock those widths, but you could set up these planes here. You don't have to. So the overall width presumably would be from here out to here. But we lost this guy somehow. Let's see if it comes back if I make this bigger. Yeah, so this guy, let's dissociate from his plane. Oh, that's our blend. That's our blend. That's our blend. To make the edge of the blend move with these, I think we need to go to a floor plan view. The base. And then lock the edge of the base to the edge of the inside edge of the arms. And probably oh, cancel. Okay. Well, we'll just see how that works. Well, you're going to have an interesting time figuring out oops, figuring out how to get, see, that's going to be easy. Open view. The seat. So the trick with this one is going to be finding out how to make the blend move when those guys move. I don't know. Well, I think you get the rest of this done like this, which all should be working fine now. Move that wider. Oh, I didn't do equal for this. Can't keep elements joined. Yeah, that was this one. Okay, so that's working okay. But that I don't know about. But I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's funny. You can set the top because it's just a straight extrusion. It could be lined up with those. But this guy. Sorry. I can't even always see this. Well, I don't know where it went. I've just destroyed it. We'll see what you can get.
Okay. This may
Uh,
also be a dumb question, but why are we extending it to the reference points or the lines?
Out here in elevation,
Hmm.
here.
Well, yeah, because you like spread the chair apart.
Yeah, well, I'm just sort of testing it
Okay.
to see if I attach width to this and then say make it 5. You know, in doctor's office, you get the bariatric chairs for really, really heavy people.
Hmm.
I mean, they're this wide.
Oh, okay, I
People
got you.
would like to have the model for that.
Okay, perfect.
That's the only reason I can think of. But
Okay.
I mean, it might be that for this back, instead of having, can you see, instead of having the back straight and the sides sloped, maybe they both need to do this. That might end up being a way to make this actually function better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be interested to see what you come up with.
Okay.
I'll be glad to address with the rest of you going through what's involved with yours, but I want to sort of move on to the assignment that's part of this. So that was sort of part one of doing this for whatever your object is, or one that we will agree upon. And part B is really in 2 parts, which if you have this, you can see, is to take 2 photographs of materials of your choice, but recognizable, so that we can then create Revit materials with them. We've done this in class, and it's in the videos pretty well. But in terms of taking the photographs, you know, it serves perfectly reasonable to, you know, think of this as something that I can turn into a floor tile of my elegantly polished floor. But I use my flash on the camera, and I'm getting this right in the middle, and that's going to be very hard to sort of retouch that and get rid of it. So step 1 here says photograph 2 materials as straight on, so you don't have to do too much de-skewing and stuff, and as evenly lit as you can. This is just a cork board that I photographed, and you know this one I use the flash on. I also use the flash on the flash on camera, just, you know, do automatic, and I think you see it's a little bright here, but really, you know, I think if I pick part of this out here, where it's even and smooth, I'd have a nice smooth image that I could use to repeat. I think this image is too sort of subtle for me. I would like something much more obvious, like well, like floor tile, or you know, some wood. So this was with a flash and without a flash. You know, maybe. And the problem here is if I picked an area like this, as it repeated, it would go light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. It's really just about be impossible to, yeah, just about impossible to make either one of these 2 repeat I have to pick such like a tiny area in here where it was not noticeably lighter or darker that I think it would you could really clearly see these sections of wood coming in and out. So think about what those might be. And I guess my concern about this one is it's so blah, we're not really going to be able to see the repeating patterns. So think about something where it's going to be an obvious pattern that's repeating, or whether it's you photograph some patterned wallpaper and figure out what the repeating pattern is, or find something out there that you can work with, like the green marble we worked with in class. It'd be something like that we can really see it as a material. Not this will end up just looking like brown from some distance. I would like to see a recognizable pattern, and I don't know how to say that anymore clearly. Just we're not creating great art here. We're really wanting to see. I want to see a material, know that you created it and applied it. So to create them, and then back in your family, then to create two materials parameters, over here, material, create a new parameter called top material. Well, these could be by type, so they're all the same. Top material by type, and I'll make a change and update that. Okay. Those, yes, yes, yes. So when we pick this object and go into edit type, we will have a top material that we can then assign just to one of the new ones that you created for it. Your material number 1 and your material number 2, whatever those happen to be. And it's fine with me if you use a carpet square material that you've created on your furniture. I don't care. I just want to see something there. So at least 2 of those, at least 2 materials, and then in the family, use your 2, and if you want to, you can use Revit materials for other stuff. I mean, if you just want to do the horizontal surfaces with your 2 materials, and then the vertical surfaces with one of Revit's, that's fine. This is an exercise, not great art or furniture design happening. So we also need to know, as you're creating that material in Revit, is that a square foot of material? Is that 3 by 5 feet of material? What is that? So that when you're creating the material in Revit, you can tell it how big to make that. For instance, if these were bricks, we'd want them to end up being 8 inches long. And then for sure, go into your realistic style to make sure that the materials you have applied actually do show up. Because the next thing I'd like you to do is, back in the model, create a new sheet using the 11 by 17 one that's there. And on it, put hidden line monochrome views of your 3 objects, a tall, skinny one, and a short, fat one, and a medium one, just as individual ones with their own names and something about them that says what they are, like tall and skinny, or 6 feet wide and 3 feet high. And then over here to put a 3D view in color of all of them, just so we can see your whole 3D view of them here, and then 3 elevation views of them there. And do those all at the same scale so we can really see that you have control over those. I think that'll be pretty self-evident. Lastly, when you've got all that worked out, let's go to File, Export. We're going to create a PDF coming out of here. We can say current window, because when you're in a sheet, Revit understands that the extent of the title block is the extent of the sheet. We can say use sheet size, which will make it be an 11 by 17 piece of paper. Fit to page is fine, or 100%, either one of those be the same thing. And then we can export that and save it as a PDF. And then we need to save everything you've put together. Let me save this file. I haven't even done that yet, have I? It's 12 demo. Yeah. Once you've got all those, let's drag this over. Some other things. We want to create a PDF file that includes them all, what you've been working on. And the way you start that is to right-click, show more options. This is on the second page. New compressed zip folder. And you can just drag stuff into there. It doesn't delete it from where it is. It copies it into this folder. I'm just dragging stuff at this point. And we'll see what's in there. There are those 3 files. And just rename this one Spring 25 DES 569 like that. And then so that'll be all your files, which includes your 2 original photographs, your 2 seamless JPEGs, the 11:17 PDF, and the Revit project itself, all in the same zip file. And then you send that in Blackboard.